God, I got to get that banner out of there. Hate to do that, but we did it.
Where the hard days pass. I believe in the Lord above. We should walk his walk and I'll share his love instead of marching to the beat of the devil's parade. I will not be broken. I won't stand around and trust some bleeding heart. It's time we all stood up and be outspoken. Bring it on. I don't care who you are. I won't be broken.
And that's right. Here on this Thursday evening, 6 daylight savings time.
Central Daylight Savings Time, Bo. Come on now.
CDT.
So now you're going there. Really? Okay. One of these
Always.
days, you and I will agree on what time it is. But
Exactly.
it's 6 o'clock, whatever you want to call it. Right now, at this particular time and hour, we're 6 o'clock every Thursday evening, and we're here right now doing it on the Real Deal broadcast. I'm your host, Big Wheels Bo Carver, along with the other host, Speed Racer Rob, and as always, the guy, the myth, the legend,
Oh, come on.
the
Stop that
Patriots at
shit.
Large, none other than the one and only Terry Anderson. Hope
Welcome,
everybody's
guys.
having a good day, and thanks for joining us here on this Thursday evening here on the Real Deal broadcast. And we are serving up an additional places where you can find us. You want to share that with them, Terry?
Yep. Tonight we are live streaming on my personal page, also on Patriots at Large, the group, Patriots at Large, the page, the Real Deal broadcast on Facebook, and the Real Deal broadcast on YouTube. So we are trying to get as many people to see us, follow us. Please share, like, follow, whatever the thing asks you to do so that we can reach more people. We love having you guys here. We're going to have a good show tonight.
Well, especially on YouTube, because there's a lot of folk out there that don't use social media like Facebook or any of that. And so we did the YouTube so that you can actually email them the episode and tell them to go find us on YouTube. So they don't have to join up or be a part of any group, a social media site. They can just go search go to youtube.com and then search the Real Deal broadcast. And there we are. So share that out there so that they can join us. And all the shows are archived, and they're archived in all the locations. So that's a good point to know too.
Well, we're glad to have everybody here tonight for sure. And let's real quick talk to our brother Rob and see what's going on in the world today. Rob, what's happening, man?
He's got great hair, doesn't he?
He does have great hair, man.
Man,
you know, here's the thing. I
look at
talked to
this
this guy
guy.
the other day. He was up there. He's like, why is your hair so spiky? I said, dude, at my age, all you got to have is hair. It does not matter. If I got hair, it's good.
Well, I'm pretty lucky at
Spiky,
my age. I
curly.
still got some hanging on
Absolutely.
too. I'm pretty good.
Absolutely.
But look at Rob is really he's
Oh.
knocking it out of the park. That's
So here's a
home
go.
run.
We should be on Rumble. And look at guys, we're trying to get on all these different channels, but it takes a minute. And, you know, we got to pay more for the more places we go. But
you could get off your personal page and add Rumble, and then you could just share it on your personal page.
I can add more now. I got like 2 more. So Kathy Daniels Hamill said should be on Rumble. YouTube is woke, and it is. We got Greg Robinson on, says brothers. Hey, welcome, Greg. Glad to have you guys all on tonight. This is another. What's that?
We're just trying to get kicked off of YouTube.
Right. We're trying to, we sooner or later, we will kick this off of all of these. I thought after last week, I was like, Facebook is going to boot us. We started talking about some deep state stuff and, so we'll see what's allowed. We also got hello, Terry, Bo, and Rob. You guys continue to comment. If you're commenting on Facebook, on Patriots at Large, the group, it will not show your username on there. If you want to have your username show up, follow us on the Real Deal broadcast on Facebook or any of the other channels. But that is a private group, Facebook, Patriots at Large is. So your name won't show up on there. So
we might just call your name now.
And maybe we won't pass that along to the authorities.
Well, they'll find out, dude. It's not like they don't. It's not like they don't know what we're doing or where
Anyway,
we're at.
right.
They know where we are. So, but yeah, guys.
Yeah, they know all about you.
Mm-hmm. If you're a Christian conservative, white nationalist, supremacist, whatever they want to call you, they definitely have your number already. So,
and you're straight. Yeah.
I've been called worse than that, so I'm in good shape.
Yeah, just you can call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
Or don't call me Ray or Jay or J Ray. Remember that?
That's
you can call me Ray or you can call me Jay, but you cannot call me what is
Ray
it?
J.
Ray J. Man, so I was talking to Rob before the show, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on in politics and what's going on in the world today?" And he said it's kind of a slow day, but we did come across something that's pretty important, and I wanted to see if you'd touch base on that, Rob, about what's happening in Niger.
Yeah, Biden's if you remember, it's like Afghanistan departure 2.0. They've like left behind 1,000 soldiers in Niger. Said more than 1,000 troops, U.S. troops, are effectively being held hostage in Niger with medical supplies running low. Stuck between the military junta-controlled government demands for them to leave and the Biden administration's refusal to let them go home after the end of their deployments. So they're screwed.
So their deployment's over. So they're being held there because they can't get out, or because they're not
getting there until their deployment is over and is not up yet. And they just kind of leaving them. That is like a powder keg ready to go off. I just hope and pray that we don't have flag covered caskets coming home as a result.
Well, we already do. I mean, we already do. They're sending more troops into Israel right now to defend against the proxy war that's going on over there.
Oh, that's a good
proxy war. Yeah, it is a proxy war.
That's the one place that I agree with sending money and troops. We could argue,
but they're using them to instigate a war with Iran, and that's my problem with it. Look, great, if they need protection there, but if you're just bolstering troops to piss off the people that we're not quite at war yet with, like Iran, because we're not quite at war yet with Iran.
Not officially,
but
they're already pissed off. So we need to go over there and protect our interest of Israel and the folk there, which we better, or we're going to get a big reap of shinola on our head from the good Lord above. So I think it's real important that we take care of business there.
That's the thing. We don't need to send troops because God's got it covered.
Yeah.
You're not going to mess with Israel, right? The whole problem with the Israel. So, and this is where Kanye West got in trouble with the whole anti-Semitic thing. There's definitely, and this is important to clarify, that when you talk about Jews, which is
Jewish people,
Israel. Yeah, it kind of came from people from Judea.
Mm-hmm.
You have the religious Jews that follow the same God that the three of us do, right? Then you have the non-religious Jews, and I'm not going to get all this right, so I'm going to be careful what I say.
Careful now, because we could get kicked off here.
Okay, so I love it, Bo, when you read a scripture, when we look at like for one of the first books of Exodus where they made the golden calf.
Right.
Okay, so there were still people worshiping the golden calf, and then Baal, and then Moloch and Ishtar. There are people who are Jewish, but are not worshiping,
not following the lawless religion of it. They're not following it.
And
they're just there.
Read through Kings and Chronicles where it said King so and so did evil in the eyes of the Lord, put up the high places and the Asherah poles, and then a good king like Hezekiah or somebody come along and tear them all down. It was like an up and down, which is why God finally got upset and let the Babylonians come and imprison them for 75 years.
We could also say that about Christians, though. There's a lot of people claim to be Christians and they're not. So they're not walking in the faith, and that's what you're trying to say about a lot of the folk over there as well.
Right. So the people who are running the government of Israel, are they God's children, or are they the ones that have turned their face away from God? Right. So a lot of
I
people
don't know. Do you know?
There's a distinction between Zionist and religious Jews. They're not all, some could be the same, but they're not. So it's a complicated situation. Right?
Well, I know that there's that, not to interrupt, but I know there's conservative Jews, which means they don't follow where they have, the aesthetic Jews where they're really in full armor with the hair and the sideburn curlies and all the dress, but they still follow, but they're considered conservative Jews. It would be like it's similar to Amish folk or Mennonites that are kind of split off from Amish. They still follow a lot of the same workings, but they're not full Amish. They're called Mennonites. So they could fall in that capacity of not being a aesthetic Jew, that they're more conservative, but still follow the way.
Right. I'm not talking about denominational distinctions, right? Because in the Christian faith, we have a cornucopia of denominations. And anytime I talk to somebody, like I've got a friend at work who's Catholic, anytime I meet somebody like that, I always ask him this question. It's a yes or no question. Can you tell me that you believe in a virgin birth, a perfect life, died on the cross and raised 3 days later for the perpetuation of our sins? Can you answer yes to that?
Yeah, I do.
If the answer is yes, it doesn't matter what building you go into on Sundays. You're still my brother in Christ. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about Zionists versus religious Jews. We're talking about people that some that worship God and some that worship Satan.
Wow.
Yeah. Just
how does that happen?
That's a different distinction.
That's like saying there's satanic Christians almost, right? I mean, how does that even happen?
But see, then there's ethnic. Yes, that's why it's complicated, right? They're not just because they're Jewish does not mean that they worship God.
Well, we live under a situation where in God we trust, like the money. We're a God-fearing country supposedly, but our people in D.C. are far from it. And at least I would say that. I might get kicked off for saying that, but I don't see any kind of real strong spirituality there. I see a lot of evil.
Yeah, every man has got to work out every person has got to work out his salvation with fear and trembling.
Correct. Exactly.
Right. So that's not. I'm talking from a macro perspective, when we were talking about Israel and the people, how Israel was established. So there are people on, like on the pro-Palestinian side, there are people who, hang on, sorry, someone from work, it's going to kill my camera.
Well, we have a friend of ours on, Russell Alford. Rusty Alford's been on the show before. Said, hey, Terry. Hey, Rusty, how are you doing? We've got so many people on here, Ann Gamora Lake, a lot of other people jumping on. We had some brothers and sisters. Well, here's this one here. They speak with forked tongue. Yeah, that's all needs to be said right there.
There's a lot of people doing that. For sure. But what your point is about that area, about that situation? Are you fearful that the government is not a true follower of their God?
It's like our government. It's not necessarily it's not a theocracy, right? So it's not like the Jewish faith rules
is leading the country.
Right. It's not that so there's a distinction, but it is still the promised land. It is still where
God's chosen people,
the inheritance of the Jewish people that God has given them, that, told through Moses that this is your area. I'm just saying that, there are certain things that have been done by the Israeli government that isn't exactly in accordance with the will of God.
Well, that's because you put the word government in there. And when we put the word government in there, look, we're a Christ, centered, founded country, but does our government act Christianly? Does our government act like Christian values that we expect to see? Hell no. I'm watching people watching real Christians being persecuted by our own government every day. And so, so who are we to judge Israel's government? Not to judge them, but I mean, Israel's government,
it's so hard
government. It's the same thing. These governments.
I challenge somebody to show me in the Constitution where it says there shall be a separation of church and state.
Doesn't happen.
It's not in there.
No.
Right. So, I mean, where that comes from is there were letters between Thomas Jefferson and a pastor. I think he was in Connecticut, and they were talking about the whole thing about in the First Amendment, where they talk about the protections for religious protections. They were talking about there won't be one denomination. We talked about denominational differences a minute ago. There won't be one denomination that rules the entire government. It's like you can pick any one you want. And and at the time, it was assumed that it was going to be following our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But we've grown as a country, and that we have other people that live here now that we coexist with, and we have to accommodate other people's feelings.
Oh, we have to deal with feelings.
They're
getting into their feelies. I hate that.
So, because the basis for the way the colonies were set up originally, it was every what is now state, but every area had its own religious. Like Pennsylvania was the Quakers. Mm-hmm. You know why they call Maryland Maryland?
Because people get married there.
Maryland. It was for the Catholics.
Ah. Oh,
because
Mother Mary.
Yeah. So
speaking about that, Rob, let's talk about this real quick, because you had brought up before what's going on in the state of California, and they have their own rights, they have their own rules. And see, this is where we need to get back to. It's like Texas is fighting on our border and we're fighting our own federal government to protect our own border, right? But now we've got something else going on in the state of Colorado with their election, with putting Biden on their role for talk about that for a minute.
So screw around and find out. And you're trying to take Trump off the ballot in Colorado and Maine. Well, guess what? Ohio may not let Biden on the ballot now.
I like that. Turnabout fair play. It's rock and roll.
The story behind that is
take him off a Texas ballot. How about that?
Well, so
Mary Queen of Scots, sir. Okay.
So per the Constitution, every state makes its own election rules, right? We know this because Pennsylvania illegally changed theirs in 2020, because it actually says in the Constitution that the state legislature will make the rules for the election. And in 2020, when they were changing around the election days, it was the court, not the legislature, that changed those rules. So anyway, Ohio is a state that has rules for their elections. And one of their rules says that you have to have a candidate to put on the ballot by August 9th. Okay, so if you look at the dates for when the Democratic National Convention is supposed to take place, they're not going to have a candidate by the 9th. So, so the Biden campaign is saying states make exception for that kind of thing all the time. Well, guess who controls the legislature in the state of Ohio? The Republicans. And they said, no, we don't have to. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, I'm sure probably Biden will end up on the ballot in some form or fashion somehow.
Probably, but that's the same thing they tried to pull on Trump, right?
It's going to be fun to watch because of all of the.
Well, I figure this: if they're going to, if one state's going to pull Trump out, that's a Democrat state, then one of the Republican states ought to say, "Trump, you," figuratively speaking, is that we're going to take Biden off. So let's see how y'all want to play this game. And it's a sad, I am for that if they do that, but it's a sad state of affairs that we've gotten in this country, that people don't want real, true election, because that's what made our country free. When you start getting away from that, then you get into the communist, or, when they have election, whoever's the king or the leader, they're going to win. It doesn't matter. It's automatic, but they have these fake elections to make it look like they've been voted in. And I go, why wouldn't we all want that? Why wouldn't we all want that? It's something that I think is a core value of this country. I don't care if you're Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, or whatever else you want to call yourself. You should want a free election process, no matter if you win or lose.
So this comment right here, mark my words, Mike Obama, a.k.a. Michelle, dude. I call her dude, and I call him dude. And will be their candidate. And we've heard so much talk about this, and so they're going to have to flip some stuff pretty damn fast to make that happen. To put Mike Obama,
she's going to have a physical if she does that.
She's going to have to do a gender change.
Well, I'm sure they can buy their way into that like they've done everything else. So I'm not too worried about that.
That was on Facebook. That was Greg Robinson. I like Greg's previous comment: "One nation under God, not Buddha, not Muhammad, not Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one shall come to the Father but through me." It's black. I would say it's black and white, but it's not. It's red. those letters are in red. So yeah, thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.
Well, I know when you.
I just changed the format there.
Yeah.
Why is my face so big?
That's a big.
What happened?
We got some big head here. Well, let's hear. I'll help you with this. Here, let's try this.
There you go. Thank you. See, it's so good to have technical guys behind the scenes to fix me. Susan McNamara, how are you? Suzanne McNamara, glad to have you. Hey, I want to put a plug in real quick, guys. We kind of got a loosey-goosey show right now because we
well, wait a minute. I think it's very important what we're talking about. So I know it may sound loosey-goosey, but I really think we're hitting on some real nerves here.
I didn't say, okay, you want to. All right, well, let's finish that. But I do want to put a plug in as soon as we're done with this discussion. So remind me, please.
So let's finish up about the Israel. You know, the one thing about it is that God is God, and God is the ruler, God is the controller, and whatever God wants, God's going to get. And no matter whether the government there is actually from the traditional Jewish background or faith. I mean, you got to realize too that look at a lot of what happened with the Jewish leaders. Basically, they're the ones that wanted Jesus crucified. So even being maybe a Jewish leader doesn't mean that you even make the right decisions there as that. So all I'm saying is that from my standpoint, I support Israel. I back Israel, and whatever God feels like needs to happen there, let's do it.
I support God's people. I just put it that way.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. And somebody asked me about this the other day, and I said, until the two witnesses show up and start shooting fire out their mouth, I'm not really going to be concerned about
it. Is that before or after the rapture? I think it's before it. That's after, isn't it?
Hey, I got cookie dough from Trixie.
Oh, look at him.
Oh, hey, sister, where's my cookie dough?
Hey, don't you know that gives you worms? That gives you worms.
I still have these cookies from Sarah in Oklahoma that sent them down to us.
Salmonella from the raw egg. That's what.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah. I was off a little. Worm, salmonella. What's the difference? Okay, we're off of this subject. So go ahead and let's Rob's got another comment.
We'll have more worms than they'll let us. Admit.
Hey, what are y'all doing this? What are y'all doing this Saturday?
I have Graham, and I'm doing a radio show until noon, so I'll probably spend a lot of time with Graham.
Bam, right there. We the People meet and greet this Saturday in Lindell, Texas.
That's cool.
My dear friend Judy Beard has been put. This is the second one she's put on.
And where's that going to be? Do you know?
Lindell's out by Tyler.
Right, well, no, Tyler. I know where Lindell is, but where?
No, it is at the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott in Lindell.
Oh, cool.
Senator Bob Hall.
Bob Hall, yeah.
Bob Hall will be there. Bob. Yep. Hang on a second. Somebody just said not this Saturday.
Maybe see Troy Jackson out there too.
Wait a second. My schedule.
It's not this Saturday. It's the next Saturday.
Oh, well, that's fine. I'm going to start plugging it this week. Then.
That actually might be better. I might be willing to do that.
That actually is worse for me. This Saturday would have been fine.
Oh, I see. I'm into next week on my schedule. It is. I was looking at the wrong part of my.
What are the times for that? You know,
we are starting at 11 a.m. and it goes to like 4, 5, 6 p.m. So I'll be MC. Senator Bob Hall will be there. Dave Summerall, StopHate.com. Also board of directors for American Patriot Relief will be there. Sean Treadway with PFA will be speaking for Patriots for America. He'll be there. And then also, let's see. There's one other speaker. I think it was added on later, but going to be a great show. Joanne Fleming. There it is.
I always worry about those last minute speakers.
No, she's not last minute. She was just. This was 3 weeks ago. She's brought.
I heard Donald Trump was going to be a last minute speaker.
Yeah, exactly. He was.
Fine. That would be fine.
Get away with it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's a great. And listen, Rob, I talked to you about this too. With MAGA DTI, would be the most awesome thing to do a flag run from Dallas to Tyler, Lindale. They're going to do it. So Saturday is the speaking engagement, but they also have a huge flag run scheduled for the following day on Sunday. And we need to see more of that, you guys. I just can't. I can't stress that enough. How we need to be more vocal, more visible, like we were 2 years ago. Seems like everybody's just kind of calmed down, and they don't want to run their flags or afraid of the F. And here's the thing: 3.5, 4 years ago, we were worried about Antifa. Now we're worried about the FBI. Right? I mean, that's kind of where we're at, right? And so, when it's just Antifa, we're like, screw them. We want to show them up. We want to go out there and, run our flags and do all this. Now we're worried about our own government coming after us because we're rolling flags.
Right. Is there daylight between them?
Well, that's a good question. So there's Suzanne McNamara. And Suzanne, you have been on my butt talking to me about this the whole time. We need to get some flag runs. I'm trying to help. So I'm putting it out here on the internet today. We want to get, I would love to see the flag runs start like they were, 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, 4 years, well, actually 4.5 years ago. But it's like after January 6th, when we watched our government squelch us, step down on us, persecute our own people, everybody's like, you know what? I can deal with Antifa, but I really don't want the feds knocking on my door. And that's kind of where it's gotten to. They have quelled us into silence through fear of them. Hey, Cash Kelly, how are you doing, brother?
But it is working when they see
this
people.
This is the guy we need to have on here pretty soon, Cash Kelly. Cash, I've reached out to you. We need to talk. You need to come on the show. We need to hear your story. Cash is a J6er, but what's happening is they're trying to silence us for fear of the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, all the alphabet groups, and I'm sick of it, man. So let's just go. So, that's good, man. We'll have them on.
If you stand down, then they've already won.
Right. We need to stand up rather than stand down. So, guys, there's so much work we have to do, and we got an election year coming up. And I hear so many people talking about it right now. They're like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be." And I actually have a friend of mine. He's probably a Democrat. I don't even know. Don't really even care. He's a friend of mine. But he's never been. He's been a good man in my life. I know who he is. I mean, but he's never, said one way or another. It's okay to believe, one way or the other. But man, when we get to this point, when our country is in the balance, we've got to do something, and that's going to require all of us starting to get loud and vocal again on our social media. Yes, that's easy, man. But out in the public, that's where it's hard. How many flag runs have you and I been on together, Rob? Just guesstimate. 10?
Dozen?
Yeah, 10 or a dozen. I mean, and when we were doing it, number one, we had each other's back. Number two, we didn't give a shit. We're like, screw that. How many times have we driven by people downtown Dallas on a flag run when people were throwing frozen bottles of ice at us while we're driving down the freeway?
Yep.
We didn't care because, Judy's asking what area. Judy, we're in Dallas. Judy, I'm trying to coordinate something with your Tyler flag run on Sunday after the meet and greet, and we would love to get some people together and have them come out to your meet and greet. If you can put the information to that in our comments so we can get some people out there, that would be awesome.
I've got a good J6er friend in Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd be that? Who'd be that? Yeah, Tyler's full of them.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Well, there are a lot of good people out there. In fact, that would kind of be fun.
Yeah, that's what I said. If you could roll a ride out there either on Saturday for our meet the greet. So this meet the greet with Bob Halls. And anyways, I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but the meet the greet, We the People, Judy Beard, she's done a great job. She's on here right now. She's also, putting together a flag run for Tyler on Sunday. And I hadn't seen that in Dallas. I hadn't seen no flag runs. So we need to get people out there in the streets again. We got dear friends, Ajwa Mason, some of these other people.
They're out there. See it. The weather is just coming out of winter, and we've had a lot of rain, and I think people are starting. They'll get into it. I know that the boating people will start having them once.
Hey, Bo, there's no fucking excuses. Excuse my language.
Yeah, that's inexcusable right there.
Well, we just got kicked off there. Sorry. Excuse my language. It just came out. No excuses is what I meant to say.
No, but if you really, to me, you can have a game plan, and you can have 4 quarters of a football game, and you're just kind of half but doing it. But when you get really into the 4th quarter and start putting on the really getting after it, that's what matters. That's what win ball games. And so I think that you'll start seeing it. I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think people are going to be that worried about the FBI or the CIA or anybody else. They're going to get out there and wave those flags. I know we will.
Well,
we haven't done it yet, but I know it may not be a good excuse to use.
It's happening. Trixie ran flags between here and Kaufman this afternoon.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's awesome.
Put some flags in the back of your truck.
But that also gets people going. I mean, she's laying that egg where oh man, I want to
fires up the Patriots. It fires up our base. It really does.
It does get things going. So thank her for that. That's nice because that'll stir the pot.
And it triggers those who it's supposed to trigger.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
How's the American flag racist? That's just I don't. Mm-hmm. That's baffled me since the first time I heard somebody say that. Of course,
I got some breaking news, dude. So in Minnesota, they're changing the Minnesota state flag. That's my home state. I wasn't born there, but I was raised there. Born in California, another state. So here I was born in California and Minnesota. I got both those states. But Minnesota state flag, they're changing the Minnesota state flag because the Native American population there, this is what they say, which I don't believe that, find that it is racist. The flag is racist. And so they're changing the flag, the Minnesota state flag. Now, what kind of heritage do we have if we're just going to change our flag? We're going to bow to the woke generation every time they whine about anything, change our football teams, change our state flags. What is going on in this country? We're even entertaining that idea.
And that's in Minnesota?
That is in Minnesota, yes.
What's wrong with the flag?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. But their new flag, looks like some kind of advertising for some kind of.
So they're actually going to do that?
They are actually going to do that. Yes, sir. I just got it today. I've got family up there still, and they're like, that's not my flag. They're, because they were raised under this flag. You're going to change a state flag. That's what are we going to do? Change the American flag because it's racist?
So there's a picture in the middle of the Minnesota flag that has a dude farming.
Yep. It's pretty racist right there, right?
In the background, there is a First People or Native American,
right?
Riding his horse by.
Right.
In the background.
You got to remember the guy farming is white too. That could be the biggest problem.
Well,
I grew up there. It's a great community. When I watched the riots up there when I was down here in Texas after I left and, been down here for years, and I love my home state. The areas that they were rioting and Lake Street and all that area up in there, I grew up there. I was a kid, man. We would go down there, as a teenager. It was great. There's 5 different lakes combined down there. It was a great area. And to watch that be destroyed by this woke culture, this woke generation, is just sad. It's sad to watch. So,
yeah.
Well, it's happening until we really get to the place where we can help shut that down. But right now, it's in full force. It's pedal to the metal, and we're looking at another 8 months of this administration. And so they're going to be. I predict over the next 8 months, you're going to see as much stuff that they tried to do the first 3 years and a half.
Oh, it's going to be full court press.
Yeah, they're going to go all out. So your shockingness is not going to change. You better get used to it because it's going to be full bore over the next several months.
So here we got one right here. J. Jones flag every weekend on an overpass in Texarkana. Anybody that's got any other information on flag waves or and see, these are bridge waves, when you're doing it on the bridge, which is a little different than a flag wave or a flag run, I guess. So it is a flag wave. But, the flag runs is where you put them on your trucks and you get, 20, 30, 40, 100, 200 trucks going down the road.
700 around.
Yes, exactly. That was an awesome day. That day was. Or when the Kamala Harris came into town and the bus. Oh yeah, that day. Yeah. So, but there's just so much to do,
I know
guys.
anybody that was behind the bus?
No, you don't know. We don't know what you're talking about. There's too many people listening.
Yeah. What I thought was strange is you could have gotten everybody that they had needed on the bus, but they had people driving around the bus.
Yeah.
Like harassing.
Yep.
The ones with flags on it. Don't say.
Hey, let me go back to that deal about the Minnesota state flag if I can, because flag runs are great and stuff, and and our flags are important, right? We don't run down the road with some anti-American flag. We run down the road with pro-America, pro-Christian, stand up for your country,
pro-fire, pro-border,
Blue Lives Matter, those type of things. We're not out there, trying to tear anybody down except for to build up our country. But when you start to talk about changing a state's flag, and this is in the works, guys, check it out. Minnesota state flag being changed. It is in the works. If it hasn't happened already, I think it's already been passed and approved by the Minnesota Congress. And so it's just sad, because if we don't have our heritage, where's our heritage come from in our country, and if we start changing our state's heritages and we start changing all this stuff, this is not some football team that you can just say, we're going to change the name. This is a state where millions and millions of people have lived and bred their family, and they have connections there. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, we're just going to change that for the new generation. Maybe we should change it every 10 years. You want to change state flags every 10 years? No, I don't.
Did they show what their proposal for the flag is?
Yep. I'll pull it up here. Hang on a second.
Because
I'll show you. I'll put it in the links.
Because, that might be, I don't think, I know this is going to hurt your feelings, Terry, but I don't think that flag's that good looking.
It doesn't matter. It's the flag.
I'm just saying, and it doesn't have anything to do with ethnicity or anything like that. It's just not a very cool looking flag.
Well, Texas flag is cool. What can you do?
Yeah, Texas, you can't argue. We've got the coolest flag.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, that's a cool flag. Let them try to change that and see what happens.
All right, so I just put a link in the comments there, you guys. This is a real thing. So that's off from PBS, of course, unreliable source. But
okay, you mentioned PBS. I got to change.
Sorry, or CNN.
So have you heard about the controversy over NPR?
Yeah, I think I did. So tell me more though.
They have a longtime reporter over there that kind of came out and said that he was quitting because they're hard left. I did hear that.
Yep. Right? Well, no, so he said more than that though. He said, yeah. He said that that internally that they're all what was it he said, man? That they're geared. Well, of course we know that already, but he literally called them out on being like anti-American.
They're
Marxists, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So so then they went ahead and fired him, right? Which is
right.
Whatever. And their CEO, who is, her social media now is being drudged up. All this anti-Trump hate posts that she's posted. That there was a TED Talks that she gave where she talks about truth being hard truth being problematic. I'm paraphrasing. That weren't her exact words, but yeah. So that's, and our tax dollars go to help fund NPR, which I've never understood that, or PBS.
Nope.
I mean, I have no problem with Big Bird, but I think Terry, when you and I were in diapers, there were probably we're seeing the first episodes of Sesame Street. That's not what I'm talking about. at the other, the other news, quote unquote news programs that they have on PBS, and it's just as hard left as NPR is. Why are we paying for that? If we're gonna, and I know it's a small part of their budget that we pay for, but
that's your tax dollars at work right there. And it is so what they're doing is they're undermining the society of America. They are trying to tear down the nuclear family, right? They want the man out of the house. I mean, let's get into this. We've talked about this before, but how do you weaken a society? You take the man out of the house. And I'm sorry, and I'm not a misogynist, which I'll probably be called for saying this, but you take the man out of the house, and you have the government subsidized because the man's not in the house, and so the incentive is there to not have the man in the house because you're going to get money from the government if he's not there, whether he's sneaking in the weekends or whatever. And this has been the demise since 1950 when LBJ put this out, right?
68. It was 1960.
60, sorry. So, I mean, it's been sad ever since. Not that it wasn't before. I mean, we probably had issues before with that, but this has been the worst thing that's happened to our country. We've watched people go on to welfare state, and then they can't get off of it. And now all of a sudden we're wondering why these kids are out there wondering who they're not. I don't mean this wrong, but who your daddy is, but like, who's my father? Who's the one that, has showed me right from wrong, or who, and yeah, sure. There's a lot of strong moms out there. Do not mistake me for what I'm saying. A lot of strong moms, but who believes that a marriage with a mother and father is better than a marriage with just a mother or just a father?
Well, that's a godly thing. To me, that's what it was set up to be. And I know that's going to set people off when you say something.
Might be a good time for some scripture to tie into
magnitude. I don't know if it.
Yeah. So all of this, what we've been witnessing over the last 8-10 years is a culmination of something that the American communists communist USA have been working on. There's published works dating back to the Wilson administration, where what their stated goals are, and you can Google it and look it up. That there are certain things, take over education, take over the media, that destroy the nuclear family. All of these things, all of these goals that they have had since World War I, that time area, and it's now coming to it. They've been playing the long game, and we're just now figuring it out.
Right.
That's how we are where we are.
But you know what? Here's the thing: it's not too late. We're just some of us are just figuring it out. Some of us have known this for 20 years,
but watched it, but step back and watched it. Really did much.
Or said something and nobody heard them, because there was not enough. There wasn't enough voice, or you were silenced. Just like we're being silenced today. We still want to get this word out there that, hey, man, the only way to save our country is to bring back the family unit. To bring God back into our country. Sorry.
And I do have a good scripture that just falls into this perfectly. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way.
You're welcome, brother.
So this takes place in Luke 6:46 through 49. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? As for everyone who comes to me and hears my words and puts them into practice, I will show you what they are like. They are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid the foundation on rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck the house, but could not shake it because it was well built. But the one who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. The moment the torrent struck that house, it collapsed and its destruction was complete. So in what we're talking about here is that we have the destruction of the foundation of our country. And this is exactly what's happened. And it goes hand in hand with, we need to follow what is instructed for us to do and not try to do something that's easy, go about the, easy way. Let's make it easy for people to not have a father in their home, to give them a little money to not have that. To me, that's how it kind of goes hand in hand with this. We need strong foundations in every capacity of our society. from our homes to our schools to our local government to our state government to our federal government, and we don't have any of that right now. We've lost it in every capacity, in my opinion.
Well, here's how we get it back. We don't get it back by just bemoaning the problem. Oh, this is the problem. And I know you know this, Bo, but we don't get it back by just bemoaning it and just crying and not doing anything. We get it back by taking action, standing up together, flag waves, social media posts, going to events like We the People coming up next weekend, not this weekend, the next weekend, but those type of things. Get involved, man. If we don't, we are doomed.
Well, I do believe people are a lot of people in this country have recognized the demise, and if you haven't, then there may not be a lot of hope for you because there's so much nonsense out there that if you really can't see what has gone on the last 3.5 years that has taken this society and our government and our country into the biggest, largest rabbit hole.
Do you remember, Bo, when this all started, 2020 and Trump came in and 2016 and Trump came in and all of a sudden, people are like, we're starting to trying to wake people up. And we're like, yeah, nobody's going to see this. And then all of a sudden, 2024 happened, stolen election, that happened. And all of a sudden now we're like, wait, it's going to take that stolen election to wake people up. And stolen election in 3.5 years of open border policy, of open border policy, 3.5 years of Bidenomics, which is code word for inflation, right? And our economy is the worst it's ever been, 47% higher across the board on everything we buy. Taxes are through the roof. And yet, so it took that for this to, to bring awareness to people, because now today I'm watching different cultural groups waking up and going, hey, this is not right, man. We're seeing inner city, we're seeing, border communities just going, wait a minute, what in the hell just happened? So what we had was good. It was going good, but we had to maybe see the worst in order to bring back the good. I don't know.
Well, also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've discussed this privately before. But the Black community is waking up. There's more and more of those people. That community is waking up.
Look at it, and we're three white guys here. Listen, guys,
right?
But, it's not about that, but we see all these different communities waking up.
And they are. I had a gentleman that delivered a package to me and saw Trump for Texas flying about as big as you could get over our property.
You told me about this.
He was a Black gentleman, and he said he looked up at the flag, and I thought maybe Mike was going to be offended by it. He said, "Man, I love that flag," and he just went off on. He was preaching to me. I wasn't even getting hardly a word in edgewise, and I asked him. I said, "Look, I don't want to offend you with this question, but what I see your heart and what you're feeling. What's the general consensus of the Black community?" He said they're coming together. That's what he told me. Now, whether he's hoping that's going to happen, or whether he's really seeing that to happen, is another story. But he was telling me that's coming together. They're seeing the problems. And hopefully that good, hardworking American people that love this country can see the craziness where we're at. I mean, how can you not see that? I mean, economically they're hit, gas they're hit, property they're hit, homes they're hit. Yep. Everything, any place you want to turn, you're getting it up the yin yang, and it's not good. And the schools are out of, I had a gentleman that I had to change the battery. And so I went to the local hardware, it's not hardware store, but auto parts store. And they put my battery in for me. And we got to talking about his wife was a retired school teacher. She'd been there a long time. And he said she just couldn't wait to get out of retire. And I said, yeah, it's gotten kind of crazy. He said, well, let me just tell you this story. Like the year before she retired, she was in the office And this child was sent to the office because he was misbehaving. And when the kid walked in the office, he looked at his wife and said, "What are you looking at, bitch?" And he was a first grader.
Yep.
Now you tell me what rabbit hole we have not gone down with that kind of nonsense happening in our public schools. So it's just we have really gotten into a bad way, and I think people are waking up, Terry. I really do, and I pray they are. I mean, if they can't see it, I don't know what's going to happen.
So there, that's take America back to God, baby. You know.
Well, that's what it's going to take. I mean, I think a lot of people are really believing that. And the Bible says, turn from your wicked ways, turn back to God, and I'll heal your land. And I think we better start with that. Number one.
Yep.
So
we got a lot of work, and it seems like you said, and I'm not trying to be, poo-poo on it, because I see a lot of people doing it. I just think we need more. I think we need more. And you know what? If we don't ask people to do more, if we don't ask people to get involved more, then they're not going to, I mean, status quo.
Let me ask you this.
Quo.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Terry, and not to poo-poo on that idea, because I do believe we should really muscle our attention on it to people. But if there's people out there that don't flag wave, or they don't get into those kind of things, but they have seen the light, to me, that's what's more important. People, if they see that we have gone down this rabbit hole, and they're saying, and you're hearing, and they're saying, "I've seen the light. This is crazy." That's more important to me on a one-on-one basis, as much as anything. I think it's all encompassing. I think we need it all. I think we need what you're talking about, and we need those people that may not get involved in flag waving, but they see the light, and one-on-one they're telling people about the light.
As long as it results in a vote the right way, as long as so you're right. Not everybody's going to be a flag runner. Not everybody's going to be somebody who's going to go down to the border. Not everybody's going to do some of these other things, but everybody's got to do something. That's what I think. We've got to do something.
And the scary part that I still have a huge, I think if we have a really true, honest election, it's no brainer. We're going to have Donald Trump. But if we have another, I think that's the problem. I thought it's the fear factor that everybody's feeling, that what if it's not going to be honest again? What if it is stolen? And what if we have that? Because
it's a whole different thing, brother, right
but
there.
That's the point. I mean, people are going to vote right. What they see it, they're doing it. But if it doesn't come out the way we see that it's supposed to be, what are we going to do then?
The vote needs to be so overwhelming that they cannot cheat or lie or steal their way out of it. I got a comment here. Rob, talk to me about your boy right quick and his comment right here.
Hey, I was looking. I think it's GTA's a video game.
No, it's Gifted and Talented.
Okay,
it's Gifted and Talented, right? Or maybe it is a video game. You know what? You're right. It could be. It's GT is Gifted and Talented. So GTA probably is a video game. But go ahead. This is your son. And how old is your son?
He's 26. So
okay,
he's
26. He's millennial. We call him millennial.
He's Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
So here he is, and this is the future of our country. Is these kids that are getting involved? We're watching them, and it's awesome to watch, man.
Yeah. So he was asked in nursery school, pre-kindergarten, what does family mean to you? Heading down the road to hell with an automatic weapon to kill Satan.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So okay, kind of deep for a 4-year-old, but we'll take that. Yeah, so he's telling, and actually he might be able, in a couple of weeks, might be able to be my studio audience, because he's going to be out of school for the semester.
Yeah, we talked about that. Maybe having to come on and just talk about really what that looks
Gen
like
Z
from them,
perspective.
so.
Well, and this comment that he made to me is very true. the school is glorifying sin and pushing pop culture, puts God down and his followers at every turn. Now, I know this to be true. I had a friend of mine that just retired last year too, that was in public schools for a lot of years. And it is completely upside down. And I'm going to say one thing that you can do, and I know for me, if I had a child back in public school, I'd find every way possible to get them out of there, either homeschool them or private school or whatever, because it is a sin hole in these public schools. And until we recognize that, and if you let your kid be a part of these schools what's going on there, you'll be lucky to have a child by the time he graduates, because they're going to be so far gone, it's not even funny. And what they're allowing these kids to get away with in these schools, and what these teachers are allowed to teach in these schools, and if
or
you
what's in the libraries, right, Bo? What's in the libraries, right?
They were doing so. Casey, so he was homeschooled from like 8th grade on, but before we pulled him out of public school, science class, they gave him an assignment on climate change. He holds the paper up in the air and shouts, "I am not doing this communist work."
That's nice. Beautiful.
Hey guys, I want to interject. We're almost out of time, but we're going to go a little bit over tonight, guys. I have a great friend on here, Sam Hall. He was running a little bit late tonight. Sam, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Terry?
Just living the dream, brother. Man, we've been tearing it up, talking about a million different topics, and Sam was our guest tonight, and he got hung up where he was at, but thanks for jumping on. Sam Hall, if you do not know, anybody who does not know, Sam Hall is the president of PFA, Patriots For America. Dear friend of mine, was down on the border with him and the PFA for many rotations, and Sam has had so much going on. And we were talking about school stuff. Sam, is a great segue into you, because you got kicked out of your school over going to a school board meeting and speaking out against pornography in school. So, and then that's just one aspect of what you've been doing. Tell us what's going on with you, brother.
Yeah, you're right. That was goodness, a year and a half, 2 years ago now. I spoke at the McKinney School Board meeting. That was the first time I've ever spoke at any school board meeting in my life. They gave me 1 minute to speak. I spoke. I'd never received any communication or talks or warnings. I left. I went back to the border, came back to talk at the next school board meeting, and I was met by 4 officers in the parking lot before I even got in the building, and told me I had 3 minutes to leave or I'm getting arrested. And it was an illegal criminal trespass warning. They had no right to do that, and they knew it was illegal. We went through the kangaroo court, the appeals process, which absolutely did nothing. And then we took it up to the TEA, and Judge Morath ruled in our favor that what they did was not only illegal. I mean, they broke not only law, but they broke Texas Education Code. They broke ethics. They did quite a bit. So we ended up suing them, and they settled the lawsuit out of court. So we do a lot, and we're headed back to the border again. We'll be back down there coming up here real soon. National Geographic, Mariana Van Zeller, who I have just a ton of respect for. She'll be embedded with our team, her and her crew, so you can catch that out on National Geographic if you have Hulu or Disney Plus, or however you can watch the show Traffic. But we've been down on the border now for 2.5 years, and we've Terry.
I do.
I mean, we've been through a lot.
I do.
We have been through a lot.
Yeah, it's good to see you, brother. Yeah, so you've had your irons in well, number one, PFA started out to combat sex trafficking, right?
Actually, no. We started out just protecting people and communities, and then in 2019, we launched a mission, which is now our priority mission. It's to combat child sex trafficking, and that was a real game changer for PFA. There was a big learning curve, you know, and I had no idea, you know, how deep this rabbit hole really goes until I got into the field of combating child sex trafficking, and that's when, you know, your eyes really open to just the vast amount of people involved in this just absolutely nefarious, evil practice, and you know, it goes all the way up to the highest levels of our government. You know, and I was surprised. I'm not surprised anymore, but when I first started getting persecuted, I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought, you know, people wanted to combat this, but that's not the truth. You know, myself, you, Terry, you know, our tribe, you know, yes, but there are people that want it covered up, that don't want it coming out. You know, specifically some NGOs down on the border that are getting federal dollars, that the Guatemalan government just sent a letter to Ken Paxton naming these 4 non-government organizations that are under the guise of charities, and they are trafficking and sexually abusing children. And so there's a lot of people that don't want it exposed. They don't want it coming out. And, you know, we're here to expose it. And we're here to expose everybody involved in it. And we're not going to stop doing it. You know, I live in faith, not fear, Terry, as you well know. I mean, I've been investigated by the FBI multiple times, by DPS multiple times. You know, we've had the, you know, feds sitting at my door. You know what that's like, Terry. So,
I do. Been there, done that.
Yep. So it's just one of those things. You know, if I don't die saving one last child, then I'll be just highly disappointed.
Well, let's dig in just a little bit deeper. And like I said, we're going to go a little overtime tonight if you guys are okay with that. You know, Sam, you know, you're right. You reminded me. You started out doing security for local groups around here just to protect the Patriot community, and that's how I actually met you. And then you got a call from. Well, you didn't get a call, but you heard about Sheriff Coe down on the border, and he was deputizing people to go down there on the border. And you were supposed to come out and work at the Patriot Fest, and you called me and said, "Hey, I cannot make it. I got to go to the border, man." And I'm like, "Well, I'll be right behind you." And so we jumped into that. You led the spearhead down there. You did so much good down there. It's been we've seen so much shit down there. It's not even funny. I mean, we've been through a lot together, but then here we are, like you said, you know, two years later. 2 years later, and you know the fight still goes on. We've seen down there now recently. We've seen the Texas Border Patrol on the border being overrun by IAs, and it's, you know, and being allowed. We've seen the battle going on between the federal government and the Texas State Guard that's down there trying to secure our border. We've seen it when the containers were one apart. We've seen Greg Abbott's cheap ass fence when he put the fence up with the holes cut in it. We've seen all of that. I mean, is it better? Is it worse? Is it coming to an end? Is it ever going to stop? What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think the powers that be want this to continue. So do all the NGOs that are, you know, making just a ton of money off of this crisis. In fact, there was a letter, and we've seen letters very similar to this, Terry, when we were down there, but, you know, basically instructing the illegals coming across to vote for Joe Biden. Otherwise, they won't be able to remain open if they don't get another 4-year term out of Biden.
Well, first of all, how can they vote? They're not supposed to have a vote, but yet we've seen California giving them vote, New York's giving them votes. I mean, what a shit show! What kind of government are we having that's allowing this stuff, that's perpetrating this stuff to affect a vote change to keep a regime in power? That's what's happening.
That is what's happening. Yeah, they're giving amnesty to these illegals to give them voting rights. You know, Biden just flew in, I think it was 383,000 illegals into Florida. And DeSantis,
on private planes, right?
On private planes, which is completely illegal, unconstitutional. DeSantis is suing the Biden regime over this. But again, he's got to change the landscape. You know, if he's going to hold on to power and he's going to do it, and it's so clear, we've called this out for almost 3 years, right?
Yep.
But it's becoming ever more apparent, and people laughed at first, and they said, "Oh, dude, there's no way. There's not going to be enough, and they're illegal, so they're not going to be able to vote." And now we're seeing it. We're actually seeing it take place, and he's changing the geographic landscape of Florida. 383,000 illegals just got flown in, and another 18,000 in New York. But why did Florida get so many? Because they got to secure that state. They got to secure that electoral.
Right, they're working on the swing states. They really are. You talk about Texas is going to become a swing state before too long, if it isn't already. And so now you got New York. You're packing them up there. You're packing them in Ohio. You're packing them in Florida for sure. That is not a fair election. It never will be.
No.
If they give them the vote.
You said they're sending them on private planes.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they flew them in.
What's the carbon footprint on that? We can't eat beef because cows fart too much and it's bad for the environment, and yet we can fly 300,000 illegal aliens on private jets.
Yeah.
I had a big enough problem with John Kerry flying to Davos in a private jet and preaching to us about climate change, and yet we're private. They couldn't put him on like a big jumbo, put him in a bus. An electric school bus would have made Kamala Harris happy with the electric school bus. I mean,
well, it's so funny when you watch them to come to the border. And let me ask you this, Sam. When we were down on our border, how many documentations from other countries did we see discarded on the border? Because when they come into our country, they're needing documentation to travel through Mexico, from Costa Rica, from wherever, Guatemala, wherever. They need that documentation. Mexico won't let them travel without that. But when they get to the American border, what do they do with that documentation, Sam?
It just goes in the dirt.
Goes in the dirt. And because they want to come here with no identity. So when they come here and they say, well, who are you? Well, I am Jesus Cuervos, and I'm from Guadalajara. And that's the identity that they get, a new identity when they come here, because we allow that. We won't let our own people vote without a freaking ID, but we let these IAs, we're fixing to let these IAs vote in our elections. How wrong is this?
Oh, brother, it is treasonous, to say the least. But we all know that Dems can do just about whatever they want to do. They never have any accountability. They're never arrested. They're just like Mayorkas. Here it is, Congress impeached them, and it goes to the Senate, and Chuck Schumer, it doesn't even last for a couple hours before they dismiss it. And Chuck Schumer said, we had to set a precedent that impeachment should not be used as a tool because of disagreements on policy.
What did they do against Trump? Yeah, what did they do against Trump? They used it as a tool against him 2 times.
Yeah, the rules for thee and not for me. That's like their slogan.
Yeah, well, they've gotten away with so much for so long. I feel like they feel that they're untouchable. And honestly, who's to say they're not untouchable? You've never seen the persecution of a former president like Trump the way that you're seeing it. And man, I got to tell you, it's not looking it's not looking good for Trump right now. I think that this case with the hush money could be the case that actually puts him behind bars, and then he'll be campaigning from a jail cell, which is just, what a time to be alive. Who ever thought we would ever live to see a banana republic such as this in our own nation?
Yeah, the prosecution's got a little bit of trouble with this one because the Trump's team has a letter from Stormy Daniels, who used to live like right down the street. This basically says it never happened, and she signed it. They've got it. But then again, you look at the other case about him overestimating his value. The law and the truth doesn't seem to matter. It depends on where can you get a jury that, in a place like Washington, D.C., that's 95% Democrat. It's not a jury of your peers. It's just like the J6ers aren't getting venue changes because they don't want them to have a jury of their peers. They want to have a stacked deck. They have a stacked deck, and they're using it.
Yeah, and the bad part is, and I hear what you're saying, Sam, and I hear what you're saying too as well, Rob. Yeah, I would love to think that this would get overturned, but you just don't know because we have seen so many people. Mark and Julie's Middleton, self-defense, J6, didn't do a damn thing, never crossed the barricade, raised their hands to defend themselves. Video footage of that exculpatory evidence held back against him, and yet still a guilty verdict. Because number one, the rules they put on the jury, they gave them 64 pages of jury instructions. Well, there's no way when they, split it all out and they say, you can listen to this, you can't listen to that, you can disregard this, but you can't disregard that. They set the deck so that even if it was a jury of your peers, you would have a trouble getting an innocent verdict because the federal government, the DOJ, they don't want to lose. I've got my own case. Sam, you know about my case. I'm fighting my case with every inch of my life. I'm, spending everything. It's changed the whole trajectory of my life. But I'm not going to quit. But yet, I may never get a fair trial. My judge may rule against me. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals may rule against me. It may go to the Supreme Court. And that's where all these are. And by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, it's 10 years, 7 years, 4 years, 5 years out of your life wasted fighting our own government. Trump's doing the same thing right now. Most persecuted man in America right now.
Possibly the world. And
yeah.
So, as far as that goes, but they know that he can expose the deep state, and they also know that if by some miracle he is reelected, and I do believe it would be a miracle, because I think they plan on either stealing it or whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But they're going to pull. They've already pulled out all the stops, but they're going to continue, right? They don't want him back in there because they know if he is reelected, the gloves come off. There is no reaching across the aisle, unless it's just to punch someone right in the mouth. And so, as far as from a legal standpoint, I should say. And so, he is going to go after each and every one of them, and he is going to bring charges, and he's going to bring investigations to the life that they've never seen before. And so, he's going to fire Ray. Of course, he's going to fire Mayorkas and just all these cronies that Biden has in office. And then, that's it. It'll be game over for the Dems, at least for 4 years, while he goes after each and every one of them and exposes them. And they are so scared to death of that they will pull out all the stops, including opening our southern border. And I've said this for years on interview after interview after interview, from Fox News to the LA Times to the New York Times to everybody I've talked to and interviewed with. It's all on the altar of political gain and retaining power. That's it. That's the end game. It's turning this nation blue perpetually. And, we might not ever. I mean, honestly, Terry, I don't know if we'll ever see another Republican president, at least not for a long time, because of this changing of our landscape in our political theater, in our political atmosphere. You can't import this many people, change the electoral dynamic, and not expect that to actually. I mean, their plan is
right
working.
because they go by population too. So you change the electoral vote by giving these people, even if they're not citizens, even if they don't have a vote, you've changed the electoral votes for that state. And so now Dems win it; they win more electoral votes. Just by having more people there, not by more people voting. And that's how we won before. We won by the electoral. So. I don't know. We have a long road ahead of us, Sam. I appreciate everything you're doing. I know you guys are going back down there again. We appreciate your sacrifice and service. Anything we can do to help out PFA, or how can we help, brother?
Well, I mean, you can go to the website, or your viewers can go to the website, Terry. It's www.patriotsforamerica.militia.com. That's all spelled out. We are a 508c1. We're considered a ministry. We did that intentionally because, Will, you've been down there with us. I mean, what do? We pray with people. We talk about Christ. We pray with these people. And so, we want to be the hands and feet of Christ wherever we go.
Give me that website again. I'm typing it into our comments.
Yeah, it's patriotsforamerica.militia.com. And so, all spelled out, patriotsforamerica.militia.com. Or if you just pop my name, Samuel Hall, SamuelHall, and Patriots For America into a Google search, you'll find a slew of articles, from all over. I mean, we just had a couple stories get released in Switzerland and in Austria. Spain is doing a new story on us. I mean, so listen, we don't, and we decline a lot more interviews than we actually accept. And so, and you know how I am with media, Terry. I mean, I vet them very hard. I don't let just anybody do a story on us. And so,
except me, brother.
Yes, sir. Except you. So, but yeah, you can go there. I mean, we have a donate tab. If you want to donate to, it'll take you to our Gibson Go. You can donate to our organization, even if it's $10 or $20. Man, if we had a bunch of people just give $10, we would have no worries in the world. And so, a lot of what we do is self-funded. I mean, it comes out of our own pockets, but it certainly helps when we have people that give to the cause, because they're giving to a really, really good cause. Not just that, Terry, but we also have a prayer warrior group that prays for us. So, and we appreciate every prayer. We believe in the power of prayer. And so if you're a prayer warrior and you want to pray for us, pray for protection, pray for favor, pray for discernment, we would very much covet your prayers.
All right. Well, Sam, we're glad to have you on. Bo, Rob, you got anything for Sam before we sign out?
Nope. Good to see you again, brother.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah, we missed you, man. It's been a while.
I haven't seen you since Chris's birthday party.
We need to go. It sounds like we need to go to the Celt pretty soon. The Celt.
The Celts, yeah.
Yes. Well, brother, man, let us know how your next rotation goes. Stay in touch with us. We love you. Sam Hall, Patriots For America, Militia, Patriots For America, militia.com. Help them out, you guys. I've been down there on the border. I've seen these guys' hearts. They do this out of love for their country and for wanting to see what's good come back around our country, guys. So, Sam, thanks again for coming on, and we're going to probably close out here. You're welcome to stay on with us while we do. I'm going to play some kick-ass music, and we're going to go from there. How's that? Y'all good with that? Y'all got quiet. Y'all got quiet real sudden. All right, I'm playing it.
I'm waiting for that Last of the Mohican soundtrack.
Oh, dude, I sent that to you the other day. Hey, I sent that to you too, Bo. Did you hear the bass in that music I sent you the other day?
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
It was good, wasn't it? All right, and these two guys are bass players, so they both love that. But, Bo, go ahead and take us out. I'm going to start with our music low and go from there.
All right. I want to thank everybody for being a part of our broadcast tonight. Thank you, Samuel Hall. Thank you, Rob, the Speed Racer. Terry, the Patriot at Large Anderson, and myself, Big Will's Bo Carver. Don't forget to join us every Thursday evening at 6 Daylight Savings Time. Until then, be safe. God bless. Pray for our country. Pray that God takes this nation by his hand and leads us to the promised land. Hope everybody has a blessed week. We'll see you next Thursday.